Coming up today, the woman at the heart of the biggest political scandal in years is placed under emergency detention. Prosecutors have the next day and a half to seek an arrest warrant. We have the latest. The top nuclear envoys of South Korea and the United States are holding talks and imposing stronger sanctions on North Korea for its nuclear and missile provocations. Plus, bad news for the South Korean economy as exports slump more than 3% in October. Experts point the finger at sluggish shipments of cars and smartphones. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello, it's noon on Tuesday, the 1st of November. You're tuned in to our midday newscast here on Arirang TV. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Mark Broom. Our top story this afternoon, Korea's opposition parties have decided to press ahead with efforts to seek an independent council investigation for the Choi Soon-sil case and urge President Park Geun-hye to cooperate with the investigation. The decision was made at a meeting this morning between the floor leaders of the three opposition parties, the Democratic Party, the People's Party and the Justice Party. The meeting comes a day after the opposition bloc and the ruling Saenuri Party failed to reach a compromise on how to move forward amid the crisis. The opposition parties have also rejected the ruling party's proposal to form a coalition cabinet comprising both ruling and opposition party officials. On a related note, lawmakers from the non-pro-Park faction of the ruling party urged their party leaders to step down to take responsibility for the current situation. The Saenuri Party's presidential hopefuls for next year's election are set to meet this afternoon to discuss the party's future. And the woman at the centre of the political scandal is currently in detention. Prosecutors grilled Choi Soon-sil for hours on Monday, where she repeatedly denied all the allegations against her. The prosecution now has a day and a half to file for an arrest warrant, or they will have to let her go. Jim Young-gil has more.
Seoul prosecutors have placed Choi Soon-sil, President Park Geun-hye's longtime confidant, under emergency detention without a warrant. The decision was made just before midnight on Monday after roughly 9 hours of questioning. Prosecutors believed there was a risk Choi could destroy evidence or flee based on the fact that she does not have a permanent address in Korea and she has attempted to flee overseas before. Prosecutors were reportedly also worried about the signs of psychological instability the 60-year-old Choi was exhibiting. Under Korean law, a suspect can be held under emergency arrest without a warrant for up to 48 hours. Therefore, prosecutors must now file a request for a warrant within 48 hours, or the suspect must be released. Choi appeared before question at 3 p.m. on Monday and reportedly told prosecutors that she was sorry for causing such a commotion, but later denied all the allegations against her. Prosecutors have secured 7 boxes of documents through raids on the presidential office and the homes of presidential aides. The team of special prosecutors is investigating allegations that Choi, who does not hold an official government position, interfered in state affairs and accessed classified presidential office documents. Prosecutors are also grilling Choi on the allegation that she used her connections to the president to push corporations to make huge contributions to 2 government-linked foundations and that she embezzled some of the money for herself. Choi is also facing allegations that she used her political connections to get her daughter into Ewha Women's University, where she is alleged to have received preferential treatment. Choi is the daughter of President Park's late mentor Choi Tae-min, the founder of a religious sect who died in 1994. Choi cultivated a relationship with President Park after her mother, First Lady Yoo Kyung-soo, was assassinated in 1974. Jim Young-gil, Arirang News.
Now, while Choi remains under emergency detention pending possible arrest, local prosecutors have raided the headquarters of 4 commercial banks with which she has accounts. They are looking to secure information about her financial transactions. The banks are KB Gungmin Bank, Standard and Chartered Bank Korea, Uri Bank and Shinhan Bank. Local banks are coming under fire over allegations they gave benefits to Choi, like providing her with easy loans. The speculation has fed growing suspicions Choi might have had influence in appointing key figures in Korea's financial circle as well. Now, in other news, the top nuclear envoys of South Korea and the United States are discussing measures against North Korea's nuclear threats this Tuesday here in Seoul. It's the first time for South Korea's Special Representative for Korean Peninsula Peace and Security Affairs Kim Hong-gyun and Joseph Yoon, U.S. Special Representative for North Korea Policy, to sit down for official bilateral talks. Mr. Yoon, who took office last month, said prior to the closed-door meeting that he just came from a meeting in Beijing and also evaluated recent South Korea-US meetings, including the 2+2 Foreign and Defense Ministers meeting in Washington. Kim said the allies must continue to pressure North Korea and expressed hopes that close coordination will continue in the transition period after the US election. Over in Tokyo, South Korea and Japan are holding working-level talks on a two-way intelligence sharing deal. Seoul's defense ministry said Tuesday that the two countries plan to discuss a wide range of issues based on a tentative agreement reached in 2012. Last week, Seoul and Tokyo agreed to resume negotiations over the proposed General Security of Military Information Agreement aimed at better countering North Korea's nuclear and missile threats. Under the proposed deal, the two countries would be able to share intelligence on threats without having to receive it from the US, as they do under the current trilateral information sharing agreement. The ministry expects to seal the deal by the end of the year. We'll bring you more updates on this story in our later newscasts. It has emerged that the United States temporarily deployed a state-of-the-art radar system to the Korean Peninsula recently. South Korean military officials say the sea-based X-band radar was deployed for around a month, but they did not specify the purpose of the deployment. It went back to Hawaii late last month. The X-band is a floating, mobile, active early warning radar station that's capable of detecting an incoming missile from a range of up to 2,000 kilometers. It came as North Korea conducted a nuclear test and tested a long-distance missile engine in September. The regime also attempted to test fire 2 Musudan missiles in October. Experts say the radar was likely deployed to better detect North Korea's strategic provocations. South Korea's exports remained in negative territory in October after a slight rebound at the end of the summer. That was the first in almost 2 years. The decline was attributed to sluggish shipments of cars and mobile devices. Kim Min-ji with the details.
Korea's exports continued their downward streak in October. The Trade Ministry says outbound shipments dipped 3.2% last month to $41.9 billion. Exports had dipped for 19 straight months, turning around for the first time in August and then falling again in September. Imports also remained in negative territory last month, falling 5.4% to $34.8 billion. With that, the trade surplus came to $7.2 billion last month, extending the country's surplus streak to a 57th straight month. The decline in exports in October was attributed to fewer working days, Samsung Electronics' decision to discontinue its Galaxy Note 7, and a prolonged strike in the nation's auto industry. Those factors are believed to have pulled down exports by over $2.1 billion overall. Last month, Samsung called an end to production and sales of its flagship phablet after reports that even replacement Note 7s had caught fire. Strikes in the auto industry over the adoption of a performance-based wage system have taken a toll on production. However, in a glint of light, the pace of decline was slower than the previous month, when exports fell 5.7%, due in part to improvements in other key export items, such as semiconductors, computers, and flat panel displays. The government has vowed to keep up its efforts to boost exports and push them back to positive territory. It seeks to offer marketing support, foster more opportunities in emerging markets, and make better use of free trade deals. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Now, staying with economic news, in Korea's consumer prices grew at the fastest clip in 8 months in October. Statistics Korea says prices went up 1.3% last month from a year earlier, also marking 2 straight months of increase in the 1% range. The rise was mainly led by a sharp uptick in agriculture, livestock and fisheries products that soared over 8% in October on year, putting up overall prices by 0.6 percentage points. The effect from a cut in electricity fees that caused overall utility fees to plunge almost 14% in September also tempered last month, with prices of utility fees dropping 8.2% on year in October. Now, with the dust settling on the FBI's bombshell announcement on Hillary Clinton's emails, the White House has announced that President Obama does not believe the Bureau's director is attempting to influence the result of the November 8th election. Kim Mo-kyun with the details.
White House spokesman Josh Earnest said Monday that the administration will neither defend nor criticize James Comey's decision to communicate with the public about the Bureau's new investigation into Clinton's emails. He said Comey is a man of integrity, principle, and good character, adding that President Obama still has confidence in the FBI chief.
And so, in the same way that I'll neither defend nor criticize Director Comey's decisions with regard to what to make public in the context of this investigation, I don't have any recommendations to make to him either with regard to what information should be communicated to the public.
The statement comes as Democrats and some Republicans have been slamming Comey over his announcement to Congress, accusing him of placing his finger on the scales a matter of days before the election. Tennessee Congressman Steve Cohen, a Democrat, has even called for Comey to resign. Hillary Clinton says that if the FBI wants to investigate the emails, they should take a look at them because she's sure the Bureau will reach the same conclusion it did earlier this year when she was accused and later cleared of mishandling classified information. Clinton's Republican rival Donald Trump has praised the FBI and the Department of Justice, hailing them for their courage to right what he said was a horrible mistake. The latest NBC News SurveyMonkey poll released on Monday appears to show the scandal has not greatly influenced voters. Clinton retained her 6-point lead over Trump 47% to 41%, the same gap tallied last week before the FBI made its announcement. Kim Mo-kyun, Arirang News.
Now, Iraqi forces have broken through the defence lines of the so-called Islamic State in an eastern suburb of Mosul. The breakthrough came some 2 weeks after they began their offensive. A commander says Iraqi troops are now fighting in an industrial zone on the eastern outskirts of the city. Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi warned that ISIS fighters holed up in Mosul will either have to die or surrender. The fighting is still expected to be difficult, though, as the city is home to 1.5 million people. Almost 18,000 residents have fled so far, and according to the United Nations worst-case scenario, as many as 700,000 others could follow suit. This is the largest military operation in Iraq since the US-led invasion toppled Saddam Hussein in 2003. Global oil prices tumbled on Monday as the market predicted that it's going to be hard for oil-producing countries to slash their production. West Texas Intermediate for December delivery nosedived nearly $2 or 3.8% to settle below $47 a barrel. That is its lowest point since the end of September. Brent crude declined around 3% as well, ending the session at 48.28. This all comes as OPEC and 6 non-member countries failed last week to implement their planned output cut to maintain prices. Iran and Iraq wanted to be exempt from output curbs, saying they needed more money to fight the Islamic State militant group, and other countries refused to back down as well. Now, we're into November at this point, and it appears as though winter has arrived a touch early in Korea this year. If you've been outside today, You'll know it's the coldest day of the season so far. The central region woke up with the mercury below freezing this morning, with Seoul starting at -2 degrees Celsius. Cold wave advisories have been in place in Korea's Gangwon-do province as of Monday night, and some southern regions even saw some early morning snow today. Now, the daytime high will top out at 8 degrees Celsius in Seoul. That's far colder than the 13 degrees registered on Monday. The Korean Meteorological Administration says gusty winds will make it feel even colder, so bear that in mind if you have to head out today. Well, that's all we have for now on this Tuesday afternoon here in Seoul. I'm Mark Broom. Thank you as always for watching. We will be back throughout the day with more newscasts. Our next bulletin, that is coming up at 2 p.m. Korea time. So until then, goodbye.